Do you like the circus? Do you like the circus? Do you like the circus?
Enter one, enter all, the circus of the bizarre.
So I need to clear up something. Contrary to the text messages and emails that I received, we did not pull some stunt at the ocean front with a monkey and get a kid bit, okay? I am not kidding. Like, there were people that asked, and I feel awful that a kid got bit or whatever, but what's more disturbing is that we got text messages and emails that's like, hey, were you guys doing filming a video down at the beach for the series? I'm like, no, and we would not get a kid bit. And they're like, well, this is Forefront. And I was like, yeah, that's probably true, my bad. Yeah, you got me on that one. We're starting this series, Not My Circus, Not My Monkeys, and looking at what does it look like to jump into people's lives that we know, and sometimes, you know, in this more of these John Quiones moments, even people that we don't know, if we see that something's going on, what do we do when we see situations that are not okay? And even more so, what do we do when we can't see that our circus has gone bananas and that we need somebody to jump in to our life? I don't know, have you guys have been handling this heat and everything else? How many of you guys enjoy the beach during the summer? You've gone out there? Yeah, for some of you guys, you're like, I don't like sand, I don't like Jaws, so I'm not going. And that's fine. Well, our family loves the beach. We really enjoy it. And we had to go the other day just to relax and hang out. And my daughters, we have 9-year-old, 6-year-old, and 19-month-old. And they're a trip, man. All girls, and they wanted to go out, and we've been trying to teach them, eventually get them into bodyboarding and then into surfing, so that way we can go and enjoy the water and all that. And so we have this bodyboard that we got them, and my oldest, Chloe, they both have life vests on because they're still not super proficient at swimming. And I want to take them out into the water where it's a little deeper, where the waves are breaking. And so if you know anything about the way the ocean works and the way currents and waves travel, is you can watch and you can see that they come in sets. And eventually it'll be a little slow, and then you'll see a larger set come in. And when a set comes in, eventually the bigger one is at the back. It'll be like small, medium, large, like the nesting dolls, you know, the Russian nesting dolls. And so you would see these coming up. And so I bring them out, and Chloe's like, I was like, all right, girl, ready to go. You want to do this? She's like, okay, Daddy, I'm ready. She does her little jig on the beach, and we wrap her up with her little leash on her thing. I'm like, you up on the board, and I'm going to pull you out there into the waves. And so we pull her out there, and we're waiting for the waves. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, Daddy, these are really big. These are really big. And I'm like, baby, I'm standing. Now, granted, here's the situation. I'm at waist level, like a little less than waist. She's laying on her board. She could stand up at the current moment. That she's like, Daddy, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. Baby, you're going to be fine. And she's our anxiety-driven child, and so I totally get it. And she's like, Daddy, Then she's like, just like getting ready to get into that like panic attack mode. And I know what it's like. I have anxiety too. And I'm like, baby, it's going to be okay. Daddy's here. And even if, and I shouldn't have said this, even if things go wrong, you have a life vest, so you're going to come to the top. There's like dad moments that you just like, once it comes out, you're like, and I felt myself like in my mind just like trying to grab the words and bring them back in, but they were out there. And she's like, what goes wrong? And so nothing goes wrong. It's going to be great. Angels are going to sing. The sky's going to open up, trumpets sound. She's like, and so there's the whole like, am I going to meet Jesus? Well, I don't know. You know, just kidding. I didn't say that. And so we go out. She's like, I don't know. I'm going to die. You're not going to die. I'm here with you. I'm going to die. If I die, tell people my story. And I'm like, whoa. Things got real out in the ocean all of a sudden. And the thing is, we go back in, and she's like, it's much safer here. And she's like, I love my life. And we're on the beach. But it's interesting because, our well-being, our health is rarely valued until pain comes and peril comes. When things are going wrong, then we're like, whoa, I really like my life. I really need to get back to that. I don't like hurting. I don't like suffering. I don't like pain. If you've followed Jesus for any length of time, you've probably prayed the prayer, God, could you just take this away? It's interesting because when the circus of life does hit, and it does hit for all of us, if you don't think you have a circus, then I don't want to say which part of the circus you are, but you might be the clown. Because it's true that we all have stuff and we're all juggling these things and it gets a little nutty and a little crazy. But it's interesting to me that the very thing that many believers will pray is, God, take this away. Because in those moments when things do get chaotic, when things do get crazy, I've been able to read from the Bible and the accounts that take place, and we teach about these every single week, is that God shows up in some of the most grandiose moments when things are going bananas. It's interesting, I read this quote in preparation for this. It says, affliction, our trials, our circus going nuts, brings out graces that seldom can be seen in a time of health, in a time of calmness. It's the treading of the grapes that brings out the sweet juices of the vine. So it is affliction that draws forth submission, weans us from the world and its perils and its hurts, and complete rest in God. And I love this verse in this sentiment and hate it at the same time. Use afflictions while you have them. That's interesting. Because we watch when these things take place, and like we noted just before, is that many believers, and even if you're not a believer, that you would say, I don't want this to occur any longer. I don't want this circus to take place. I want it to be somebody else's circus, somebody else's monkeys. And then when we do see it, we kind of walk by and a situation unfolds and we're like, I don't see a camera crew and John Quiones. I'm going to keep on walking. I'm not going to bother with this. But if I can be on TV, sure, I'll jump into your mess. What's going on? Because for most of us, we say, I have my own stuff, and I have my own circus, and I have my own monkeys, and there's things that I would like to remove from that circus entirely. And then I see somebody else and go, God, I can't even deal with my own. How in the world can I jump in to somebody else's? We're going to take the next 4 weeks and look at the way that Jesus interacted with people. Moments where Jesus looked at them and said, as we look at quotes like that, to say, can it be said of us that we'll jump in, or do we just simply walk by people in life, friends, even family, and go, that's not my circus, that's not my monkeys. You go ahead and deal, and I'm going to handle me. You do you, and I'm going to handle me. There's this account that happens in the book of John. If you have a Bible, I'd love for you to open up to the book of John. It's in the New Testament of the Bible. The Bible's broken up into Old and New Testament. If you're not familiar with that, if you have a Bible, you can turn over your table of contents. Find New Testament, find John, not to be mistaken with 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. I know it's super confusing. Just look for the John that doesn't have a number in front of it. Turn to that, and you find that chapter 5 is where we'll be in. If you don't have a Bible, we give them away for free at the Get Connected table in the lobby. You could download a digital Bible on your phone or a tablet or mobile device. And so just search for Bible app and you can find that icon. Or you can stop by your app store and you can download, unless you're a Windows user, I'm sorry, all we have are Android and iOS devices. Sorry. Just Team iPhone. And so you can download, if you go into those stores, and find the Forefront Church app. And this has, in the notes section, has every single one of your notes. It has things to fill in. You can email those back to yourself. It has the baptism video that happened today, the announcement video, and all sorts of things that you can go back and be able to look through service again. And it's interesting, we catch up with Jesus in this account, and Jesus is traveling, and he gets to this pool in this place called Bethsaida. And when he gets there, it's a place where a lot of people that were ill would stop, because they saw that people were finding healing in the pool. And so we catch up in verse 1 of chapter 5, and if you don't have a Bible or a digital Bible or anything like that, it's going to be here on the screen. It says in John 5, sometime later, Jesus went to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there in Jerusalem, near the sheep gate, a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethsaida, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. And so basically this is just simply saying that there is a pool there, that there are people all around, and these colonnades, these coverings, is where where people would sit and get shade and rest. It continues on in verse 3. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. And now this is where, depending on your translation, things may look a little different here, and I'm about to explain why in the very last part of verse 3, and you may not even have a verse 4 in your translation. I'm going to explain why here in a second. It says, and they waited for the moving of the waters. Verse 4, from time to time, an angel of the Lord would come down and stir up the waters. The first one into the pool after each disturbance would be cured of whatever disease they had. Now, most translations will have this in it. There's a few that don't. And basically the Bible, and I want to unpack this a little bit. The way that the Bible is comprised is for each book of the Bible, there are hundreds, sometimes thousands of different texts that all will match up. And the way that they basically use this to find out what is true and what isn't is, are they all matching up from different points in time that we found these transcripts? And about 75% of the transcripts have verse 4, and about 25% of them didn't. And so what some scholars, depending on which translation you read, have omitted that verse and then make a footnote of it. Here this morning, I would actually contend that that verse is hinged upon another verse that would make a lot more sense when we read it and unfold when we get to verse 7. But it continues on in verse 5. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. Now, for some of us, we get upset and are angry if we have a week of something that hurts us. So for 38 years, this man was not able to move properly. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, and this is what question we're hinging on today, do you want to get well? Now, I don't know if you ever read the Bible and just kind of scratch your head and go, huh? Jesus, and this is just where I kind of step out from the text. I go, Jesus, for 38 years, he has not been able to move properly. The question, do you want to get well, makes me step back. If I'm leaning against the other colonnade, I'm going, duh, Jesus. Like, he's showing up at a pool where people are getting healed. 38 years he's battled this. This seems like a no-brainer to me. But for many of us, when a situation arises where we see someone hurting, when we see someone in pain, the next place that our brain goes to is, should I help? Why should I jump in? And the very nature of Jesus' question to this man sets the stage about what it means to love people and care for them when their circus is going bananas. How do we respond as human beings, and especially as people who follow Jesus? And to be able to get there, we see some of the other teaching of Jesus where he unfolds this further. Over in John 13:34, he says, a new command I give to you, love what? Who? One another. He doesn't say, love yourself. He says, as I have loved you, so you must love one another. He says, listen, he sets the stage for what happens when we are to engage people's lives. That when we see someone in pain and in hurting, we are to get angry at them. No. When we see someone that's hurting and in pain and a situation is unfolding, we should write lengthy tweets about them. We should go on a tirade on Facebook. We should stand around the water cooler and gossip about them. No, that when we see this in a command that he gives us to love one another, and this isn't something that's supposed to happen so that we could get recognized. This isn't something that happened. We don't love people, so we can be like, look at me, I totally love people. All right, hey, did you see me? I was over there loving on some people. Yeah, I'm cool, good. God loves me. That's not how we are to love people. Over in the book of Philippians, later on in the New Testament, the writer Paul unpacks it this way when it comes to loving people. He says, you're supposed to love people not looking to your own interests, but each of you to your next Facebook post to draw attention to yourself. Oh, wait, that was not right. Not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the place that will get you noticed and likes on Instagram. All right, hold on. We're going to get this right, I promise. Not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others. The others. That as Jesus is unpacking this, in this teaching, in this love, when we see a circus unfolding in someone's life, when we see it unfolding in our own, that the response and when things hit the fan and the bottom drops out is that we are to respond with love. You see, Jesus knew what it meant to live love in a compassionate way. And I love the way that the writer Henry Nguyen puts it. It says this way, compassion asks us to go where it, what? Hurts. To enter into places of pain. To share in brokenness, fear, and confusion and anguish. Compassion challenges us to cry out with those in misery, to mourn with those who are lonely, to weep with those in tears. Compassion requires us to be weak with the weak, to be vulnerable with the vulnerable, and powerless with the powerless. See, and he wraps this up. Compassion means full immersion in the condition of being human. That if we are to love, that we can't sit idly by and watch something unfold in someone's life, watch someone's marriage collapsing, watch them being derailed because their child has gone off the rails. To watch as their job drops and they have no longer any income and they don't know what to do and just go, you know what? As I see this unfolding, it's not my circus, it's not my monkeys, I have my own. I am going to just deal with me. You do you. Have fun with that. It's sometimes we may even look at them and say, you deserve that because it was because of your choices. And because it's your choices, you got to own that. I've even heard people, be a man, own that. You got to handle your business. How many of us have thought that? You don't have to raise your hand. I know I have. If I'm being honest, I've thought, well, look at what they did. Doesn't that, look, they have to, those are their circumstances. And then I say, well, I have my own stuff to deal with. But not Jesus. Jesus jumps right into the mess of this man. 38 years, not able to move. And he could have said, I'm an important guy. I'm the Son of God. Hashtag big deal. I'm good. I can go. I need to do things. I got people to see. I need to make my Father's name known. I don't need to stop. This guy, a couple more days, he'll be fine. No. He stops and asks him the very question, do you want to get well? What's the guy's response? It's over in verse 7. Sir, the invalid replied, speaking to Jesus, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I'm trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me. When I read these words, as I marinate on these words, I can't help but think of the number of people over the course of time, even myself being in that very seat, of going to church and raising my hands and singing songs and listening to messages and going to Bible studies and then sitting back with God and wondering why he hasn't shown up. And making excuses like, God, man, I just got a lot going on. I mean, like, I just don't know why you don't show up. Like, but man, everybody keeps doing stuff. And well, I've been there and I do that. I just don't know. And making excuse after excuse about why my life isn't changing. And I look at this guy, and the thing is, Jesus has asked this question before. Over in the book of Matthew, it's the first book of the New Testament, he meets a blind man. And he says, what do you want from me? He says, teacher, that I could have sight, that I could see. Again, immediately, that guy doesn't pass go. He does not collect $200. He cuts through the chase. He says, listen, Jesus, I know you can heal. I want to see. And this guy for 38 years has been hurt and in pain. And you know what I think? I think he's like some of us. I think he loves his pain so much and has become so used to it that he's come to make excuses because it's become like a warm blanket of comfort, and he has no idea what he'd do if he got on the other side of that pool. And for many of us, and I'm going to include myself in this, there are times where we're living in a place where we could find healing, and we are on the threshold of just getting in the water, and we just go, and having healing and restoration and being broken free of our hurt and of our pain and of our suffering. And we just go, just so hard. I've been at this a long time. I just don't know what to do. And I'm not patronizing you because I've done it too. But the truth is, those are all excuses. And here's what I've been studying over this, and what I started writing down here, it says some people don't want help. I know that's not very politically correct. We're supposed to say everybody wants to, but this is true. Some people don't want help. Others will make excuses. You may even make excuses for why you are unfit to jump into their circus. I don't know enough. There's no way I can go back and lead children because I don't know enough about the Bible. One, those kids don't need you to know the Bible. They need to know that somebody loves them. Because I don't know how many times my parents told me, like a brick wall, do this, do this, do this, do this. And I was like, you're my dad, you're my mom, I don't want to listen to you. And then all of a sudden, somebody back in a little youth group told me, and I was like, oh, that's awesome, I totally want to do that. And they're like, we've told you 1,000 times. There are people back there, you say, listen, there's no way that I could do this. There's no way I could jump into somebody's circus. There are kids right now, they're being loved on, that they're telling them the same thing you told them. And you may go, I don't know a lot. Man, how amazing would it be if you could do that for somebody else's kid, and then they could do that for your kids and be like, man, this is awesome that we get to partner in this way. But we don't want to jump in because we don't think we're good enough. None of those excuses, none of them supersede Jesus' command to go and love one another. It's everybody's circus. This isn't your circus, and your circus, and your circus, and my circus over here. It's Ringling Brothers, and we're all apart, guys. Your ring may be over there, your ring may be over there, but the tent's over all of us. And so we look at this. I need you to jump in and be the ringmaster of mine, and I'll jump in and tame the lions in yours, or the monkeys, or the bears, or lions and tigers, oh my. It's how our Maker knit us together. It's how we're woven together. And so Jesus hears this response, the response that you and I may have given. You may be giving it right now in your head. I can't do this. He doesn't love me. I'm too bad. I'm too frail. I'm too this. I got too much going on. There's no way I could serve. There's no way I can follow him. There's no way I can make that kind of commitment. And Jesus hears all of this from the 38-year invalid, and I love Jesus' response. He says, then Jesus said to him, get up. And we may think that Jesus is meek and mild and gentle. And we see the picture of white Jesus, which Jesus was not white. He was Middle Eastern. He was a Middle Eastern Jewish carpenter, all right? Okay? So, get the painting of Jesus off your wall. He wasn't white with blonde hair, blue eyes, okay? And we see, he was just sensitive and whatever. The way that this is translated from the original, that it is imperative that there is they didn't put that exclamation point we should totally put an exclamation point there. That'd be good. No, I would call this that Jesus gets into dad voice, right? If you've been around a dad, and then all of a sudden I tell my girls, hey, it'd be cool if you guys had, we got chores, could you clean up your room? Crickets. Hey guys, an hour later, hey girl, hey. I'd love it if you guys, your room, it's starting to smell the rest of the house. You guys should totally clean your room. You get paid if you do this. So you can go spend money and stuff. Crickets. And then an hour later, hey, need you to clean your room. Dad, why are you yelling? I don't understand. Gosh, you don't have to yell all the time. What's wrong with that guy? You. Just kidding, I don't say that. Jesus gets into dad voice here. What, you're making excuses? 38 years and you've brought yourself to this pool and you couldn't just like thrown yourself in? You couldn't ask people to shove you in? And every day you came because you want to make it sound like you have big faith? And yet every day for 38 years you've made excuses sitting on the edge of the pool. Get up. Take up your mat and walk. He doesn't pass go. He doesn't collect $200. At once, the man, because when Jesus speaks, the miraculous happens. When you meet Jesus, the miraculous happens. When you trust in the name above all names, the only one that can do the things that you've wanted your spouse to do, they can't do it. They don't walk on water. The thing that you're living vicariously through your kids that are going to help you to gain some type of ego and identity, that is not going to float your boat. It is through the name of Jesus. And immediately at once he said it and he was cured and he picked up his mat and he walked. He picked up his mat and he walked. 38 years of excuses by the pool, and it took Jesus saying in dad voice, get up. Stand up, pick up your mat, and walk because you can be healed. Yeah, for some of us, for years it was me sitting right on the edge. Not good enough. And we're watching other people's lives unfold, and their circus is going bananas. Not my circus. I got enough of my own. There's no way that I can jump into yours and handle mine. God, you just don't understand. He's like, I don't. You mean that whole sending my son to die for you wasn't enough? Setting you free so you don't spend an eternity in hell? That didn't open up your eyes enough to say, like, maybe I've sacrificed so much that you can get out of first world suburbia and step over into their mess. But God, I work hard. I need a little me time, really. And I'm saying this because I feel this way, because I watch people sometimes, and I'm like, man, I just want to go home and be with my kids, and their life is crumbling, and what do I do? God, will you just let me, whatever? And I curl up into a ball, and I look at my wife, and she's like, you need to go. And then there's people that call my wife, and she's like, it's my summer, and I just want to relax, and I just don't know what to do. And then I'm like, you need to help them. And then our girl's like, I don't really want to serve. I just don't want to do that. I'm a kid, and I just want to play and look at my iPad and Pokemon Go and whatever. And I don't care. And it's true. Because this existence isn't about me and my circus. Because when I jump into somebody else's circus, here's what I know, is that my life begins to get drastically changed when I'm focusing less on my monkeys and my circus, and I focus on theirs. And all of a sudden, this miraculous thing happens. God starts tidying up my life as I serve other people. He'll go, no, I got to get myself together and then serve other people. It's a beautiful thing. Every time somebody goes on a mission trip, every time somebody goes back there to serve, when the people come here and the leaders for high school, middle school kids, and their life starts changing, they're like, man, it's this weirdest thing. Like, my life was going bananas, and then I started helping other people, and my life started making sense. And I'm like, it's weird how that works out. And so we ask ourselves, should I jump in to their circus? And the answer for us is, should I get in? Should I do this? And this is our main idea for the week, is we always ask. You're called to help, not to judge. Now, I know if you're a Christian, you might say, well, no, because we need to tell them the truth, and we need to jump in, and we need to tell them how all their ducks aren't in a row, and how they need to get right with Jesus, and whatever. All right, I get it, that God wants to transition our lives from sinfulness to wholeness. But before you get on your high horse and tell them how bad they are, remember that you're just as sinful, that you're just as wrecked, that you got some monkeys dancing around in your closet that you haven't dealt with yet. And step back for a second and say, all right, maybe I don't need to be the pious this and that maybe I just need to say, wow, I'm so glad that God took care of my monkeys even though they're going bananas. That he doesn't judge me based on that. And so I'm going to jump over here and I'm going to first lead with love and care for them and love them because he first loved me. You know, and I was there on the beach with Chloe, and she was telling me to tell you her story. So you could, if you see her, say, he shared your story with everyone telling my story. Got to the beach, and Roxy, our 6-year-old, we get there, and Chloe's off doing what she does, which is usually cry. And it's girls. That's what you guys do, right? You cry, and then you eat a pint of ice cream or something. And so don't get mad at me. They put in all the movies, and then we see it happen, then you get mad that it's true. So, and so we're going to have lots of it. I have 3 girls. So we get her, and Roxy, what's wrong with Chloe? Oh, she doesn't want to do it. Oh, whatever. And she's the one that if, like, Jaws is out there, she'd be like, can we paddle out and touch his teeth? You're cool. And we're like, all right, so let's go. We get her out there, and we get her on the board. We go out there, and I'm pushing her into waves. I'm gargling saltwater, dying because I'm, like, drowning doing this stuff. And she does, and all of a sudden, Chloe's like, Daddy! Daddy! And I'm doing what she does to me. I'm totally ignoring her. What? Can't hear you. I don't know what you're saying. You got to take in the moments when you can, moms and dads. And so finally we get to the shores. I'm pushing Roxy in. She's like, Daddy, I want to go. I want to do it. And she's doing her little jig again. I'm like, all right, but if we go out there, we're going all the way out. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Just get her out there, paddle, 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 push her into these things. And for the next 40 minutes, I'm pushing her into waves. Biggest smile on her face. She's like, Daddy, and we get to the shore after we're all done. Daddy, I didn't die. Daddy, I'm totally like, and she's touching her arms and her legs. She's like, I didn't die. And I'm like, yeah, because we were in waist deep water. And you had a life vest on and a board. And there's lifeguards. I'm your dad. But the truth is, you have a circus of your own. And you're terrified to go out into the deeper water. Because you don't know what's going to happen. And not only are you so stuck in moments, and we all have them in different varying degrees of our own circus, but we see other people terrified to deal with their fears and the mess unfolding, and it's going bananas. And if ever for a brief moment, you and I have the opportunity to help them conquer those things and love unconditionally. And my hope and prayer as a community here at Forefront is that we would be people that would not shun their circus and their monkeys. They would say, you know what? Bring them on. March those elephants in. The clowns, they're creepy. Bring them along. Do what you need to do. That we'd unpack that show and we'd deal with it together. Why don't you pray with me?